Okay, so it looks like we are live. Um, Yesterday we had an Xfinity race at Talladega. But first of all, let's just get the word out that we are live right now on YouTube. Um, I just uploaded a video, first regular season upload of the season. Okay, my phone just started. Let's fix that. Okay. Okay, what's the share button here? Share it. There we go. And there we go. Okay, it's already on Instagram as well. The notification. Okay. So, Xfinity. We had an Xfinity race at Talladega yesterday. It was pretty cloudy all race long. Thankfully, it did not. It did not rain. The forecast for the weekend did not look good. Again, cloudy, high chance of rain. You know the works. At least there wasn't any threat of lightning at the moment, and fortunately, Fridays and Saturdays actions they were held with no issues. Xfinity Series qualifying on Friday it was held under the sun too, and once again, as usual, RCR they dominated qualifying as we've become accustomed to seeing on super speedways. 3 for 3 when it comes to sweeping the the front row on Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega so far this season. They are undefeated when it comes to qualifying. They're 3 for 3, not just on getting the pole, but on getting both their guys in the front row. Austin Hill on the pole. Speaking of Austin Hill, shout out to him. He actually had a moment in qualifying where he just flexed on the camera. He just he just put out he just was doing some hand signs on the camera with this. He had the on one. What he had his on one hand while he was driving one-handed on the backstretch. It was like, yeah, this is live. And he definitely has a right to flex because he is very good. Even though he has never won at Talladega, like Daytona and Atlanta, he's good, but Talladega is just like a terrible track for him, results-wise. But then again, that's just part for the course because some of the best super speedway drivers, they tend to excel or get better results at one track than the other. Look at Brad Keselowski, for example. 6 wins at Talladega, but then at Daytona, he's just, I believe he only has like 1 win. Logano is also better at Talladega. The only driver that I feel has even amount of wins at Daytona and Talladega is Hamlin. But I'll say and even then, I'll say Hamlin is slightly better at Daytona. But yeah, Justin Hill on the pole. Jesse Love second on the front row. And then RCR affiliate Parker Kligerman in third. Then Cole Custer fourth. Speaking of the Fords, this is a key weekend for them. A big chance for them to finally get that first win of 2024. And I would never get tired of saying that because the more time passes, the more shocking it is that Ford still hasn't won a race this season yet across all 3 national series, so I'll never get tired of mentioning that. Sammy Smith 5th. Ryan Truex in 6th, once again running the 20 because Taylor Gray is on the 19th again. Chandler Smith in 7th. Riley Herbst qualified 8th. Josh Williams in 9th, great qualifying effort for him. And Sheldon Creed in 10th. And then Anthony Alfredo in 11th. Patrick Emmerling 2nd, great qualifying effort from him. He's driving the 07 for SS Greenlight Racing. Taylor Gray, 13th. Like I said, he's running the 19. He was running the 19 car this weekend, like he has done for the past couple of weeks. AJ Allmendinger, 14th. Sam Mayer, 15th. Last week's winner. And then Justin Allgaier, 16th. So Allmendinger, Sam Mayer, Allgaier, all 3 of these guys competing for the Dash for Cash. So they qualified right together. And I'm sneezing, man. Joey Gay 17th, SVG Van Gisbergen 18th, Then David Starr 19th, great qualifying effort in the 66 car for MBM, and Kyle Weatherman 20th. And then going down through the field, we got Brandon Jones qualifying 23rd, and then Ryan Sieg 24th, the fourth Dash for Cash driver. And then his brother Kyle Sieg 25th, and then Blaine Perkins 26th. So the three RSS cars starting together. And then Matt DiBenedetto, the fourth RSS car, not too far behind in 28th. Haley Deegan 31st. Jordan Anderson 32nd, back in that 32 car. Jeffrey Earnhardt 34th, running the 26 car as well for Sam Hunt. Last year's winner Jeff Burton qualifying deep in the field in 35th, and Mason Massey running out the field in 38th, running the 14 for the second SS Greenlight Racing car. Only one car failed to qualify. Garrett Smithley in the 6th was sent home, and Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray, and Jeff Burton were sent to the rear for unapproved adjustments. Sheldon Creed had to change a flat tire after qualifying. I believe he got a flat tire on his cooldown lap, similar to what happened with Roger Caruth in the race last week at Texas. So anyways, we go to stage 1. The race starts and the field like immediately goes 3 wide. Like on lap 2, lap 3, everyone was like 3 wide. But the top lane was the dominant lane early on, and pretty much throughout the entire race. That's where the energy was. That's where the better drivers were. Austin Hill leads with Jesse Love 2nd and Parker Kligerman 3rd. And by the way, I didn't know this fact about Austin Hill, but he is already 3rd all-time in laps led on super speedways. And I know they're running more super speedway races nowadays. I know some people don't consider Atlanta a super speedway, but still, this is a wild stat to think about. So as the stage goes on, the field goes single file. The bottom lane seemed like it started getting more momentum at around lap 10, led by the Fords, Stewart-Haas Racing teammates of Custer and Riley Herbst, and also Ryan Sieg, their alliance mate, because you remember RSS, they have an alliance with SHR. The SHR team that runs Ford, because there are 2 SHRs in Xfinity. There's Stewart-Haas and then there's Sam Hunt Racing. But yeah, the Fords, Custer, Herbst, and Ryan Sieg, they challenged the RCR cars for the lead for about a lap and a half, but again, this is on the bottom lane. The top lane eventually won out. On the final laps, the aggression picks up once again. The bottom lane once again reforms, this time led by Allgaier, Brandon Jones, Riley Herbst, and Anthony Alfredo. Hill, in his haste to block both lanes, he ends up surrendering the lead to Jesse Love, who made the pass on the bottom, and then he moves up, throwing a risky block on his teammate, which causes the top lane to slow down, bunching up the field even more. I bet Austin Hill ain't gonna be happy about that. Of course, he caught his teammate a break because he's a rookie, but this eventually led to Justin Allgaier getting spun out on the backstretch on the last lap of the stage. It looks like he got loose coming up the corner. Also got some help from Riley Herbst, but he was already loose coming up the corner. He hits the edge of the wall. You know what that part of the track I'm talking about, the part where big accidents have happened, where if you hit that side of the wall, it's a vicious wreck. You're just a passenger at that point. But yeah, it was a very dangerous angle. I still don't understand why NASCAR has not addressed that. That's certainly a safety issue. And yeah, the car catches fire, but thankfully he gets out. He is okay, but his Dash for Cash hopes are done pretty early. So stage 1 ends under caution with Love winning the stage. Parker Kligerman 2nd and Austin Hill 3rd. And then Chandler Smith 4th, Allmendinger 5th, Ryan Truex, SVG, Van Gisbergen. Brandon Jones, Riley Herbst, and Cole Custer run out the top 10. Then we go to pit road, the leaders pit, and the RCR cars, they emerge 1-2 with Jesse Love winning the race of pit road. Parker Kligerman, he overshot his pit stall, he loses some spots, and then he has to come back down pit road, so he will restart at the rear anyways. And some drivers stay out, Dawson Cram, Mason Massey, DiBenedetto, Haley Deegan, Jordan Anderson, Joy Gase, Honeyman Baccarella, those guys that are towards the back, only to pit a lap later, so they don't have to avoid the chaotic pit road. They also pitted alongside Josh Bilicki, who missed his pit stall the first time around, so this gives the lead back to Jesse Love. Some penalties, obviously. Kyle Sieg and Matt DiBenedetto busted for speeding, and Kyle Weatherman penalized for a safety violation. So we go to stage 2. The RCR teammates of Love and Austin Hill, once again, restarting 1-2. This time, though, Jesse Love is on the top lane. That's the main difference. This doesn't matter to Austin Hill, though. He retakes the lead on the bottom and then moves up to the top to link up with his teammate. It doesn't last for long, though, as this time the entire field stays 3 wide for way longer than in stage 1. and the 3 lanes are pretty much even for the most part. And this prevents the RCR cars. This prevented the RCR cars from like pulling ahead as much as they did, which allowed drivers like Cole Custer and Ryan Sieg to not only challenge for the lead but also outright take it. Towards the end of the stage, though, the JGR cars, they come to life. All 4 of them were lurking, running in the top 10 at one point in the stage, with Chandler Smith and Ryan Truex leading the way. The 81 car eventually wins out on the top lane, but not for long, as Austin Hill and Jesse Love are right behind him, and they eventually pounce on him with 4 laps to go in the stage. And this, of course, as the laps wind down, the bottom lane once again reforms, this time led by Allmendinger, Brandon Jones, and Parker Kligerman, and they do a good job challenging the RCR duo for the lead, but in the end, they're just in total team control mode. I'm talking about the 21 and the 2. Jesse Love gives his teammate Austin Hill a push. It allows the 21 to clear Allmendinger and take the lead, as well as both of them to a 1-2 finish to end stage 2. This is the 9th consecutive stage win for RCR on super speedways, including all 6 this season. 4 of those stage wins have come from Jesse Love, and the 2 of them from Austin Hill. And also they have swept the wins, with Austin Hill having won the first 2 races of the season at Daytona and Atlanta. So they're in pretty good position to three-peat, to go 3 for 3 on everything, literally. So Austin Hill wins the stage, Jesse Love 2nd, Allmendinger 3rd, Ryan Sieg 4th, Brandon Jones 5th, Chandler Smith 6th, then Parker Kligerman, Riley Herbst, Jeb Burden, and Cole Custer running out the top 10. We get some strategy on pit road this time. Some drivers take 2 tires, Jesse Love, Riley Herbst, Brandon Jones, while others, like Austin Hill, they take 4 tires. Jesse Love obviously wins the race of pit road, and after some guys who stayed out pitted the next lap, you know, the Dawson Crams, the Mason Masseys, and the like, Jordan Anderson, Joey Gase, Beliki, David Starr, Baccarella, he re-inherits the lead, but his teammate Austin Hill is mired back in 12th, and after the choose, I believe he was like restarted like 15th after the choose, lined up 15th after the choose, like in row 8 or whatever. But yeah, stage 3 begins, and while Jesse Love just clears away on the lead, Austin Hill just gets to work, and in just 2 laps, he has already climbed all the way up to 3rd, behind Brandon Jones and Parker Kligerman, whom, you know, Austin Hill have been working with to get to the lead. It feels like the mentality of the drivers between last year and this year had changed, because I remember last year no one wanted to work with Austin Hill because they didn't want to give him a chance to win, but at this point it's like they respect Austin Hill now, and they know that he is the best driver, he is the best super speedway driver in Xfinity right now. So if you're going to, the only way you're going to advance your position and put yourself in a chance to win is to work with Austin Hill. But of course, this is a double-edged sword, because it also gives Austin Hill the chance to, you know, get back to the lead and just make the car wide and just block all lanes. But then again, it's better a chance for the win. But you'd rather take your chances with Austin Hill racing for the lead than just not work with them at all. So I'm glad the rest of the field learned their lesson. Now they're just working with Austin Hill instead of leaving him out to dry. And then a few laps later, Ryan Sieg, Sammy Smith, and Van Gisbergen, they make their way to the front, and these guys take turns leading laps as the field starts going 3 wide again. But of course, it's not long before Austin Hill retakes the lead again. And then a few laps later, we got a crash, and of course, it happens during commercials. But Ryan Sieg and Parker Kligerman just going for the same piece of racetrack, and it was just a crazy crash, because it was Ryan Sieg on the bottom coming up, Kligerman on the top coming down. They come together in the middle lane, and this sparks the chain reaction. 12 cars involved in total, several of them being pretty strong cars. Brandon Jones, he was running towards the front. Last week's winner and Dash for Cash driver Sam Mayer. Another Dash for Cash driver in AJ Allmendinger with some damage, as well as Ryan Truex, Jeremy Clements, Josh Williams, Matty Benedetto, Jeb Burden, Leland Honeyman, and Kyle Weatherman. So a 12-car crash in total. And just like that, Ryan Sieg, Sam Mayer, Allmendinger. Remember, all 3 of those drivers involved, all 3 of those being Dash for Cash drivers, and with Justin Allgaier out due to the wreck that ended his race in stage 1, all 4 Dash for Cash drivers have been involved in incidents already. Sam Mayer was with in a DNF. Sam Mayer DNF'd, and of course Allmendinger with big damage. Ryan Sieg spun out, but not that much damage, honestly. So the door was just wide open for Ryan Sieg to just run away with the dash for cash because he was involved, but he didn't have any notable damage. Allmendinger has some front end damage. He was able to stay on the lead lap, but the speed just wasn't there anymore. And that's such a shame because the race was clean up until that point. Like, all of the cars who were running, there were 36 cars running, only 2 cars had DNF'd, only one of them due to crash. But all 36 cars who were running at the time of the incident, they were on the lead lap. So yeah, that's honestly a big shame. We got some more strategy on pit road. Some of the leaders decide to go fuel only, and others go for fuel and tires. Austin Hill wins the race of pit road with fuel only because he took 4 tires at previous stop over Sammy Smith and Chandler Smith. And again, as always, Dawson Cram, Mason Massey, Joey Gase, Haley Deegan, Matty D, Brennan Poole, David Starr. They stay out to pit 1 lap later to avoid the chaos on pit road. Taylor Gray gets penalized for removing equipment, and also Parker Retzlaff penalized for man over the wall too soon. And the race resumes. Austin Hill restarts on the top, but this time the bottom lane clears him as Ryan Sieg gets some much needed help from his 4 teammates of Cole Custer and Riley Herbst, leaving the 21 out to dry. Oh, not really out to dry because there were drivers behind Austin Hill, but they just didn't give him the push that he needed. Yeah, there's a lot of dust in my room. Gotta clean that up later. We got a quickie yellow for debris. Rear bumper cover that flew off. So some drivers decide to use this caution to top off fuel. Most notably Sammy Smith, but also Dawson Cram, Patrick Emmerling, Haley Deegan, Mason Massey, Parker Retzlaff, Brendan Poole, and Lyndon Honeyman. And this leads to another restart. And now the roles are reversed. Instead of drivers challenging Austin Hill, now it's Austin Hill himself challenging for the lead. And he's been unable to make anything happen for the time being, as the Fords, they just stay working together, 1, 2, 3. This time it's Riley Herbst leading, but Ryan Sieg is second and Cole Custer is third. Eventually though, Austin Hill, he gets some much needed help from Alfredo, and he's able to stay even with the Fords for the most part. But it's not until Kligerman jumps in front of the 21 that the bottom is finally able to clear past the Fords. But it's not over yet, as the Fords, they cross over to the bottom and they retake the leads. Like some good racing happening towards the end of this race. But unfortunately, this is where it all fell apart for Ford, as Cole Custer, he got split down the middle, and then on that same lap, Ryan Sieg has a flat right rear tire go down in turn 3 after hitting the wall coming to the start finish line, and he has to pit. And just like that, his dash for cash hopes have been hamstringed. Suddenly, AJ Allmendinger now is in prime position to get the dash for cash award. Seriously, that dash for cash race was pretty crazy between Ryan Sieg and Allmendinger in the closing laps. But yeah, all of this scrambling for position eventually allowed for Anthony Alfredo to assume the lead, as well as bringing some other drivers like Sheldon Creed, Chandler Smith, and even Parker Retzlaff for some moments into the mix. Anthony Alfredo, he led for a couple of laps before he got shuffled out by Kligerman, Austin Hill, and Sheldon Creed. And while all this was happening, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, Jesse Love, they managed to climb their way to the front by working together on the bottom lane. Taylor Gray also jumped into the mix, as well as Patrick Emmerling, who made it all the way up to second before quickly getting shuffled out. I'm still a bit salty that the broadcast didn't mention him, because he got worked his way all up to second. And then as quickly as he made it up to the front, he got shuffled out. So yeah, the laps wind down. The field finally settles down single file on the top lane with 10 to go, but this is just the calm before the storm. Everyone was just, at this point, they were just working deals between each other. The spotters were just making deals between each other, saying, hey, I help you if you help me, and then we go from there. But yeah, Jesse Love was leading at this point with Parker Kligerman second, Austin Hill, Riley Herbst, and Sheldon Creed in the top 5. Some drivers towards the back, they try to move forward on the bottom lane, but nothing comes out of it. It's not until 3 laps to go when SVG and Cole Custer start the bottom lane that shit gets real, and soon enough everyone drops down. Talking about first Josh Williams dropped down, then Sheldon Creed dropped down, then Austin Hill dropped down, and Austin Hill then takes the lead with 2 to go after crossing over to the outside to pass his teammate Jesse Love. And it's 3 wide behind him. All 3 lanes led by RCR powered cars too, with Kligerman up top, with driving for Big Machine, and then Josh Williams in the middle, driving for Colleague Racing, and then Jesse Love, RCR in the bottom. All four of these guys being RCR power cars. So it looked to be an RCR total team control fest to end the race when Austin Hill staying up the top to get help from Parker Kligerman. But it turned out to be a little too much help, typical pushing, bomb drafting in the corner, pushing a driver in the corner. That's a big no-no. As I always say, pushing a driver on the corner in the draft is never going to go well. Cleveland pushes him at a bad angle in the corner. Austin Hill gets loose. For a moment, I thought he will save it, similar to how Matt Kenseth saved it on the last lap of the 2016 Daytona 500. But he ends up spinning out after making contact with Anthony Alfredo. Alfredo is collected, as well as Jeb Burton, Patrick Emmerling, Taylor Gray, Jordan Anderson, David Starr, and Riley Herbst. Most of them with minor damage, but Jordan Anderson, big damage. He got to DNF. Jeb Burton also with some notable damage. So this takes the race into overtime. And despite the leaders being tight on fuel, most of the leaders stay out, which I don't really understand, because even under caution, you were seeing some drivers running out of fuel. Chandler Smith had to pit because he ran out of fuel under caution. Same goes for Parker Retzlaff, Blaine Perkins, and Dawson Cram. And on the restart, it's pretty apparent that pitting for a splash of gas under yellow was the way to go. I would never understand why teams are so reluctant to stay out under yellow, even when they are already super tight on fuel. If they were just tight on fuel, I get it, 1 or 2 laps short. But if you're 5-6 laps short, just pit, man. Just pit for a splash and then go from there. Try to salvage whatever you have. This is the second time this season this has already happened, and ironically enough, both times it happened on super speedways. Of course, the Atlanta race that ended up with Jesse Love just running out of fuel and being a heartbreak for him. And Jesse Love was among the leaders of this race too, was in contention to win. So you already know the guy, as he said in his interview after the race, he had PTSD flashbacks. And predictably enough, Cole Custer, SVG, they both run out of fuel the moment the green flag waves, and this causes the field to scramble, which leads to contact between Sheldon Creed and Jesse Love. The 18 car spins. I believe Josh Williams was collected in it as well, and Parker Kligerman hit the wall hard. He was the biggest casualty. So this takes the race into double overtime, and more drivers start running out of fuel, and the leaders still refuse to pit. This race was just, the end of this race was just so frustrating for me to watch. Sammy Smith had run out of fuel, and he was one of those guys that had topped off on fuel during the debris caution, as well as Kyle Weatherman. So again, it's not over yet. I definitely thought that this race was gonna end in triple or quadruple overtime, because some guys were gonna stay stalled out on the track because of they ran out of gas and they had to be pushed. And the moment the green flag dropped, Ryan Ellis gets shoved out of line and he spins on the infield. No caution comes out of it, although for a moment I thought it was gonna come out, as I thought he got run out of fuel. But fortunately he gets it straightened out, and they let the leaders race back to the line. Up front though, Jesse Love, very low on fuel, who takes the lead. But he was holding off a bunch of hungry drivers who had not won an Xfinity race in their career. I'm talking about Brennan Poole, Anthony Alfredo, Leland Honeyman. Joey Gase was in the mix as well, believe it or not. Only this time, however, those PTSD flashbacks he got from Atlanta, this story was different. The fuel does not run out, and he brought it back home to win his first career Xfinity race. This is the first win for the for the RCR 2 car since Myatt Snyder at Homestead in 2021. And also, this needs to be said, Jesse Love just won an Xfinity race before Sheldon Creed. Ouch. No shade to Sheldon Creed. He finished top 10 and he's had a pretty solid start to the season, but yeah, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. When your replacement wins in just 9 races, your replacement wins 9 races, what you just couldn't do in 2 full-time seasons. Your replacement in just 9 races into his season, he already wins something you didn't do. That's gonna hurt. For a first career win, though, I was surprised that this was a very unpopular win, though, which, makes sense considering that, he was running for, he was a juggernaut. He was the juggernaut racing for RCR. And considering he was also up against pretty lovable underdogs like Leland Honeyman, and most notably Brennan Poole for their first career win. But if you ask me, and this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, I am glad any of those guys did not win, because Jesse Love, he deserved this win more than them. And don't get me wrong, I love a good underdog win when they happen. Brennan Poole winning especially would have been nice after the heartbreak from 2016. But not if it comes at the expense of then taking a playoff spot away from someone more deserving. And again, this is not their fault. This is more of the, the current playoff format just preventing me from enjoying underdog wins to their fullest. Because think about it. Let's say Jesse Love runs out of fuel, or he throws a bad block and he is left out to dry he gets split down the middle. This leaves the door open for Brennan Poole or Leland Honeyman to battle it out for the win. And let's say those two guys win. It's a very popular win for sure. But then this, on the flip side, this means that they will also be taking a playoff spot away from someone more competitive like Ryan Sieg or Anthony Alfredo, guys that are already fighting for a playoff spot. They're on the bubble. If Brennan Poole or Leland Honeyman won, don't get me wrong, it will be great for them, good for them, and it will make for a great story. But on the flip side, it just made it more difficult for drivers that are actually more deserving to make it to the playoffs. Ryan Sieg or Anthony Alfredo, for example. And those guys, funnily enough, they are two other underdog drivers, but they are more competitive drivers than Brennan Poole or Leland Honeyman. They just will become playoff fodder. So, honestly, I love underdog wins, but not if I love underdog wins, but they don't deserve. But not if it means that they're gonna make it all the way to the playoffs. If that singular win just takes them all the way to competing for a title, they don't deserve that much for just one win. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on why I honestly didn't mind Jesse Love winning. I know people are not gonna like it because it's RCR. They hate RCR, but hey, RCR they just went 3 for 3. They just have the perfect weekend at Talladega as far as the Xfinity Series goes, and on super speedways because they swept the front row at Daytona. They swept the stages, and one of their drivers won the race. Then they go to Atlanta, they sweep the front row, sweep the stages, and win the race. And then at Talladega, once again, they sweep the front row, they sweep both stages, and they win the race. So RCR, they are a perfect 3 for 3 on everything. Front row, sweep, stage sweep, and one of their drivers winning between Austin Hill and Jesse Love. And, it has been pretty even because Austin Hill has more wins, but Jesse Love has more stages and more poles. The only difference is that Austin Hill has gotten beat in the wins department, but Jesse Love has more stage wins and more poles on the super speedways than Austin Hill. So for the most part, I'll say they're pretty even, which is surprising because I did not expect Jesse Love to be this good from the get-go. But speaking of other drivers who finished right behind him, because everyone was scrambling for position behind Jesse Love. They were working against each other. They were working to pass each other instead of working together to beat Jesse Love, which is another thing that frustrated a lot of people regarding this race. But yeah, Riley Hurst finished second. Great comeback for him on the last lap as he was running outside the top 10. Anthony Alfredo finished third, continuing his surprising start to the season. Leland Honeyman 4th and Brennan Poole 5th. Great top 5 rounds for both of them. Sheldon Creed 6th. Cesar Baccarella 7th. Again, great underdog run for him. Matt DiBenedetto 8th. Jeb Burton 9th, despite getting some damage from the Austin Hill crash, from the Austin Hill caution. He managed to bring it home for a top 10. And also Cole Custer running out the top 10 as well. Then Mason Massey in 11th. Haley Diggett in 12th. She stayed in the back all race long, and it ended up working out for her for once. She didn't get involved in any accidents. I believe she was running last place for most of the first half of the race, or close to last place. But still, this 12th place finish is a bit disappointing considering that she restarted 4th and she couldn't even get a top 10 out of that. I saw some people being mad at Riley Herbst that he wouldn't work with Haley Diggett, but it makes sense because Riley Herbst, it ended up working out for him, him advancing his position position ended up working out for her. If he decided to just stay back and work with Hailie Deegan, like, she would have gotten in the top 10, but that doesn't guarantee a good result for Riley Herbst either. Like, Riley Herbst just leaving Hailie Deegan out to dry and working by himself and advancing his position to finish second, it ended up being the right call for him. It may have prevented Hailie Deegan from getting a top 10, sure, but yeah, on the last lap, all bets are off. That's just what I'm trying to say. So, and still, it was I believe this is Hailie Deegan's career best finish. So, it's still not a bad finish, but it's still disappointing considering that it could have been a bit more. Could have been a top 10. She didn't get a top 10 out of that. It's a bit disappointing, but Kyle Sick 13th, Austin Hill 14th. Again, he bounced back just by getting some damage on that caution with 2 to go in regulation, let's say. Taylor Gray 15th, Josh Bilicki 16th, Ryan Sick 17th. After all he went through in the last couple of laps, he managed to win the Dash for Cash bonus after that last caution. He got the free pass. Joey Gase in 18th. He was running top 5 until he got spun out on the last lap and he got shuffled back to 18th. AJ Allmendinger 19th. Again, like I said, he came pretty close to winning the Dash for Cash before Ryan Sick got the free pass on the last caution. Josh Williams running out the top 20. Sammy Smith 21st. He ran out of gas before the second overtime. Shane Bergen 22nd. Also another one of those drivers who ran out of gas on the first overtime. Chandler Smith in 25th. He ran out of gas before the first overtime. Ryan Ellis in 26th. If he hadn't gotten spun out on the final restart, we could have seen all 3 Alpha Prime cars in the top 10 potentially. Then Parker Kligerman 29th. Parker Retzlaff 30th. He ran out of fuel, and I believe he DNF'd because of that. I don't know. Jordan Anderson 31st. Patrick Emmerling 32nd. He got caught up in the Austin Hill wreck after he made it to second at one point in the race. So a bit disappointing for him. Brandon Jones 33rd. Ryan Truex 34th. Jeremy Clements 35th. Sam Mayer 36th. Those guys got caught up in the wreck in stage 3, that big accident. And then Jeffrey Earnhardt 37. Apparently he DNF'd because of engine issues during stage 2. And Justin Allgaier 38th in last place. So, while things got a bit messy towards the end, it was a great race overall. Up until stage 3, we only had one car DNF due to crash. Allgaier, that being Allgaier of course. And even then, most of the late race carnage, it came by way of cars just running out of fuel. So it wasn't a result of just boneheaded moves or inexperience from other drivers. This was a pretty clean race overall. And thankfully Mother Nature cooperated and it did not rain at all. So thankful that we managed to get all 300 miles on. I gotta say though, I was so wrong about Jesse Love. Because entering the season, when I made my playoff predictions, I had him on the playoff bubble. And again, that's mostly because I thought he would struggle running mid-pack after being so accustomed to running up front in ARCA. And most of his better races will come in the second half. Bro, this guy has been lining up from the moment he won the pole at Daytona. And it's not just on super speedways either. With this win, he has extended his top 10 streak dating back to Phoenix to 6. He has 6 straight finishes in the top 10, including the win at Talladega, and all on different types of tracks too. So the streak started at Phoenix with that second place finish that he got over Sheldon Creed, ironically. And Phoenix, Phoenix status as a short track is disputed. To me, it's a short track, but it's a different type of short track. So we go from that to Coda, which is a road course. He finished top 10 on that race. Then at Richmond, a natural short track, he finished in the top 5. Then Martinsville, another short track, top 10. Then at Texas, he got a top 10 after starting from the pole. That's an intermediate track. And then Talladega, he won after starting on the front row and being in the mix all race long, getting big stage points, including a stage win. He has managed to excel at all types of tracks too. So it's not, super speedways are his forte. You can attribute that to RCR's super speedway program being top notch. But this guy has been performing pretty well at all types of different tracks. So my point is, Jesse Love is better than we thought. He has been the biggest surprise of this Xfinity season so far. Definitely impressed by him. So yeah, I guess that's set for this video. We have 2 hours before the Cup race begins, and yeah, let's see what the Cup race has in it for us. Hopefully it's not that that much of a disaster like the Texas race was last week, because I actually have expectations for this Cup race. The super speedway racing in the Gen 7 car has been pretty good, for the most part, but it's been pretty good. It's been pretty cleaner than it was in the Gen 6 era on average. But yeah, again, I just love the Xfinity series. They just produce some great racing, but yeah, I guess I'm just gonna leave this here and just get ready for the Cup race.